Hey, welcome back, everybody. Um, Here in front of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., one of my favorite places in D.C. to go. It's been in the news a lot lately for not so wonderful reasons, but I figured why not? Let's use something that seems current. Um, Want to make this video for you because we are wrapping up the past week, right? So that's where you turned in your informative speech, and we're starting the next week, which is looking forward to the persuasive speeches. So I want to talk a little bit about the informative speech that you've already turned in. Then we'll talk about what's coming up for this week, and then we'll talk about some general things overall. So, all of the evaluation forms have been sent back to you at this point. So, you should have those in your email. If you don't, for some reason, let me know, and I'll double check on that. When you get your form, they're all going to be slightly different. The template's the same, but the content, of course, is different. But the thing that I'll just discuss briefly is that if you go to the bottom right corner, you'll see your grade. And that's there in three different ways. So you've got it out of 32 points because if everything is worth 4 points, every item, and there's eight of those, you could have gotten up to 32 points. Then I divide that out to make it a percentage. And then you see the percentage over there. And then the last one is where we take it down to the points that this is worth in this class, this assignment, the speech was worth in the total grade. And you'll see the points out of 10 for this one. So look at that. And I don't know how you like to see it best that makes it click with you, but that's three different ways of seeing your grade. Now, got some notes, some things that I noticed from this round that I just want to talk about briefly, and we might uh, you might have more questions specifically about your topic, but I did want to hit these because these were the most common. So first things first, there was quite a bit of blending between persuasion and informative speaking. Remember, we wanted to be as strictly informative as possible on this first speech. So we didn't want to say things like you should or this ought to be that way or we need to. We just wanted to know the facts. Some folks were really good with that. Their topics were presented in a way that wasn't an issue. Other people had really controversial topics. So one person, I won't use names just in case they're, but she was talking about the meat industry, and it was really sort of a scathing review of it, but it was all just factual information, and there was never a pitch of an alternative or we need to shut it down. None of that. So that was really impressive to watch some of those, and that wasn't the only one. But some others, crossed over into persuasion a little too far. Now, the good news is the next speech, the last speech, is going to be strictly persuasive. And so you can really take your position and try to convince us that we should agree with you on it. All right. Next up, make sure that you're following the outline thoroughly. That outline is made just for this class. I mean, that's my outline that I use for this class, and it's again not like I feel like it's got to be the best because I made it, but it does cover everything that you'll need. Some folks, well, most all of you were using the outline to some degree, but some people were blending some items in the introduction or the conclusion. Maybe they skipped over one, they did them out of order. They're in a very specific order, and they're listed individually for a reason. I mean, I want you to hit all of those in that order, and make sure that you're covering those things. Also, make sure that you're using a full transition between the second and third main points. That'll be the same for the next speech as it was for this one, but that was a fairly common mistake too. Next up, keep practicing your delivery. There was, good delivery, not so great delivery, some okay delivery. It was sort of across the board, and that's normal. But with this, make sure that you're at least practicing so that you're sounding smooth. You want to sound conversational. I said this in a video earlier, and that is people will practice to the point where they think they feel robotic, they sound robotic. And I say, yeah, maybe that's where you are now, but you need to keep practicing at not sounding robotic. It's a lot of work, but it's what we do. I mean, this is part of learning to give a good speech. So you definitely don't want to have a very bumpy delivery. There are times where if you give a thoughtful pause, even if it's planned, but it seems like that's the thing I want to say, like just like that, it looks like you're talking off the top of your head, even though you're very, very well rehearsed. So do continue to work on your delivery. The fifth item on here, remember to cite your articles, your sources very clearly. Remember, I can't stress it enough, right? Two things that you have to cite: a publication, the name of where you found this, the journal name, the website name, the news agency, and the date. Those are the two things we need, the year. Some folks got that down pat, no problem. Other folks still struggled with it. So make sure that you're giving us that info. For the peer-reviewed journal articles, a couple people didn't have those. That's a problem. Some people may have had them, but they didn't cite them in a clear way. So again, if you're citing that peer-reviewed journal, you can say, according to a peer-reviewed journal article from, name the journal, from 2019, and then give us the information. So make sure that you're practicing not only the overall delivery, but you're including those source citations so that you've got it down. Again, you can use color coding, whatever works for you to make those connections. Next up, we have, before we move on, do note that the source requirements change for the next speech. There are more sources required. There are now two peer-reviewed journals, articles that are necessary. So make sure that you're keeping up with that. Next up, most speeches were fine in terms of rate and pitch, but some had issues. Some were very monotone. It sounded some people just talk monotone anyway, and that's harder to fix. So if that is you and you just sort of sound monotone, that's fine for personal life. But for a speech, try to add just a bit more in the pitch shifts, right? So again, I go back to the example I used in a video previously, and that is if you're telling someone they just won $1 million and you're very excited about it, you're not going to say things like, hey, you just won $1 million. You're going to be excited. If you tell someone that their dog was just hit by a car, you're not happy. Like, hey, dude, your dog was just hit by a car. It's, hey, your dog was hit by a car. So we do these things naturally. So make sure you don't lose that. A lot of folks sort of let that slide a little. If you are monotone, not because that's normal for you, but because that's sort of what you feel is your speaking voice, change that practice now. Right? Get out of that habit now. We all have a customer service voice. If you've ever worked in retail, you know what that is. But it's when you answer the phone, hey, this is Carl, can I help? Whatever. It all sounds corny. I'm not telling you to go to that voice, but think about finding that happy medium so that you do naturally shift your rate, your tone, your volume, and it mirrors a conversation. Again, conversational quality. We talked about that in the video as well. The other thing with this, some folks were going way too fast with their delivery. I think most of that is nerves, though there's a couple where I got a feeling that it was, you've timed it out and practiced it and saw that you were really close on time, and so you decided to speak very quickly to try to fit it all in. That's the wrong approach. Don't do that. Cut things out and then speak at a much more regular pace, if you will. But yeah, don't try to include everything and rush through it. If it means taking some items out, make that hard choice, take something out, and go that route. But don't talk faster. Not what you want to do. It doesn't resonate with your audience very well at all. Okay, practice helps with that too. Here's the big one. Here's the big one that was most common for everyone, and it has to do with delivery. It is your eye contact. Man, I'd say probably the majority of folks read way too much. When you're making eye contact in this setting, I know that it's a little awkward because it feels like there's no one to look at. But remember, that camera is the eye contact. When you're looking at that camera, looking at least at your screen, I mean, here to here, you see the difference. Now, if you're here, that's all right. because it feels really like right now I'm looking in a mirror. But some people, when they're reading their speech, you can just see this. I mean, notice how like my eyes, we're on a screen like this. This is what we're seeing. So we're going to pay special attention to your eyes. Excuse me. And so make sure that those eyes are being effective. You can definitely look at your notes. You can read part of the speech. You can get some information, but don't just sort of spend the entire speech doing this number. At least 2 or 3 people use paper notes. When that's fine. But what I'll say is, let me say 2 things about paper notes. One person had full-size pieces of paper, and when they would move them around, it was very, very loud. If that's the case, you may want to try a different approach. Another person had what appeared to be note cards. Don't use note cards ever in a speech. I know that's pretty common. People say, well, yeah, just make some note cards. Don't. If you drop those note cards, it's a problem. Even if they're numbered, you've got to take time and put them back together, and it detracts from your credibility. So don't use note cards. But make eye contact with that camera. When you read a speech, it ceases to be a speech. It becomes a reading, and this isn't that class. The other thing here with this one is that you need to still include gestures during your presentation. I know it's difficult to do because we're in this little box on a screen, but I've already been using gestures throughout this speech. You can still do it. Some folks did fine, and they would do things like, first and second and third. That's fine. But, you can do here and here. Somebody did just a beautiful use of on one hand and on the other hand. And these 2 things don't balance. I mean, that's great. But just have some use of purposeful, effective gesturing when you are giving this speech. This is what I think a lot of folks were doing. I could tell it on maybe 5, 6 people. You were gesturing because I could see this. See at the bottom of the screen, I could just see the top of your hand. So I know it was happening naturally, but I couldn't see what it was because it was down here. So just bring that up a little bit and then gesture it this way, right? Maybe that means tilting the screen down. Maybe that means sitting up higher. I don't know. But practice. That's part of the practice. Making sure that we can see the gestures and that they're purposeful. All right. Last one on the review is to check the time limit. This one sort of puzzled me a little bit. Quite a few folks were over the time limit, and I don't know why. It's a recorded speech. So if you do it and the time limit's 6 minutes and you're at 6:15, redo it, right? I mean, that just seems to be the way to go for me. Maybe, hey, 1 point's not that big a deal. That's your call. Sure. That's whatever you want to do. But there's really not a reason not to turn in something that is on time if that's what you're going for. The other thing is, and I didn't mention this explicitly, but at least I think 2 or 3 people did this. I don't want you to do this moving forward. Don't edit the speech, the video. I could tell that a couple folks were talking, and then it was like a clip, and it would end, and then another one would start, and another one would start. It wasn't awful editing, but it wasn't professional either, in that you could tell where these things started and stopped. So don't do that moving forward. Just do it all in one take. If that happens and you get to a point where you really mess up, start over. Again, we're trying to simulate real life as much as we can, simulate face-to-face speaking as much as we can. And obviously, you can't cut out takes in life. If we could, boy, we'd probably all be rich and famous by now. All right, so with those, that's sort of the look back. Now, let's look forward. For this coming week, or the week we're currently in, you've got 3 things that are due. You've got your persuasive outline, your persuasive PowerPoint, and you've got your content quiz 5, the last one. Don't forget about those content quizzes. Don't let that couple points slip away from you. Now, for the outline and for the PowerPoint, on the Blackboard website, there are examples of both of those things. It's the same outline template that you've already been using, just changes with Monroe's Motivated Sequence. We are, if that's news to you, using Monroe's Motivated Sequence. You have to use that for this speech. And if not, then it won't do, because that is the assignment. So make sure that you're going back and you're watching the videos. I can't stress that enough, to go back and watch the videos. I don't expect perfect speeches by any means, perfect outlines, but most common errors that I saw were specifically addressed in the videos. Now, again, that doesn't mean that you didn't watch it. I know it's hard to, pay 100% attention the entire time. We forget things. People make mistakes. That's why we're here. It's to learn. But make sure that you're reviewing that to help yourself as much as possible. So for the persuasive outline, you're going to use the same form. The introduction will be the exact same. The exception there is that you'll want to pay special attention to the attention getter, because that's the first step of Monroe's motivated sequence, grabbing attention. I'll talk in the video about using stories. Go back and review that. Then when you get into your 3 main points, you get to the second, third, and fourth part, or steps, of Monroe's motivated sequence, which are the need or the problem, the satisfaction or the solution, and last is the visualization. Go back and review what those things mean, but those will be main points 1, 2, and 3 are the second, third, and fourth steps. And then last, you will have a call to action. Your conclusion remains the same, but at the very end, give us a call to action. It doesn't matter if you do it right before or after the closure. It can go in either way, but make sure that it's there. That is key to Monroe's motivated sequence. So review all of that. Then for the PowerPoint, there is a template online for that as well. And when you look at it, you'll think, what the hell is this? This isn't a template. It's blank, but at the bottom, it'll tell you what each slide should be. That way you're not wondering, how many slides should I have? Should I put this up? Should I put that up? There's a video on how to make a quality PowerPoint. There's a video on a demonstration of me making a PowerPoint from the outline. There's also a video of me making the outline. So again, watch those things as you're making your own, and you'll save yourself a lot of trouble in the long run. Then, of course, don't forget, content quiz 5 is in the assignments folder. All right, so a couple catch-up things now that we know sort of where we've been with the informative, what's coming up this week, and now let's sort of think to the end of the course, because there's only 2 weeks left, this week, next week, and we're done. Now, a couple of folks were emailing me asking me why they got credit for a persuasive speech they haven't given. Again, that was something that was posted on the Blackboard site, so go there first. But the short answer, again, is I miscalculated our time. It's on me. And so I gave everybody full credit for that speech that we're going to be missing. I could have taken it out and then graded you out of, I think, 85 points. And I may still do that. What I'm going to do is calculate your grade with all of your grades in it at the end, including that full credit for the speech, and see what it is. Then I'm going to take that speech out and do it by 85 points and see what it is. Whichever grade is higher is what I'll give you, because that's on me for making that mistake. It's putting things in an online format on the fly. So that's what that was about. So hopefully that clears it up. Then next week, again, is a short week, so things will be due before Thursday. It's Wednesday next week. Not this coming, we're in Sunday, so we're in a week, but the final week of the class. So make sure that you're keeping up with that, and that's when you're going to turn in your persuasive speech. You'll also do some surveys, but I'll come back at the end of this week and give you more info on that. Don't forget to go to the speech lab. I know most people were waiting until the very last day, and it works out right now, but you never know when we're going to just be busy and not able to do that. So remember, our hours are 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Thursday. So it's not 11 p.m. That was on one page that was not changed, but it's been changed now. Last thing is, I don't want at the end of this semester for anybody to feel like I could have done better in that class, but Carl wasn't available. I'm always available. I've met with, I think, 4 of you now. One of you we've met multiple times. We met anywhere from, I think, 11 in the morning to at one point it was like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and that's fine with me. So I'm available to you. I just need to know that you need that in order to help. So I'm here. Use it. Let's finish strong, right? We want to make sure that we get through this. So look over that sheet. See if you have questions. Whatever you made good, fair, or poor on, Those are the things that I would really focus in on and try to make better. If you did excellent or very good, you're not in bad shape. Yeah, so take a look at those. Let me know if you have questions on it. Don't forget what's due this week and that we are using Monroe's motivated sequence. There's bunches of stuff for that in the packet and on the videos. And then we've only got 2 weeks left, so let's do the thing and finish strong. All right, if you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a great, it's Sunday now where I'm at, rest of your short weekend, and I will see you soon.